In my dream, I knew that I was just gonna take that baby home like it was a teddy bear that I bought at the Cardi's. I knew that, and that I would not need to go through any adoption process or any kind of official process to take it home, because I understood that it was mine. I understood that that baby was mine. When I look at this baby boy, like I said, yellow as the sun, curly hair after looking like a white baby, but it was colored, it was mixed. I took this baby with blue baby growers, and its growers were so clean, even though it was crawling on the floor of this dirty, decrepit mall, and it was crawling away from all the sieverts and the millisieverts of radiation poisoning of this lackluster, dastardly nasty, chilling on the floor, and he couldn't even follow me. Like, grab your mat and run. Except you can't now, because there's no healing now, is there? He couldn't do anything. He just stood there, still oozing a great deal of lust, and I took my baby from him. And the dream ended with me going into a baby shop in this mall and buying this baby clothes. And this baby was just chilling with me, basically being right at home. The Lord was showing me, they keep doing rituals. They keep on trying to take stuff from you. And one of their most recent rituals, because you spoke about how it is that you're gonna get married and you're not even gonna struggle to conceive, neither are you going to struggle to carry to term, but they're gonna try to miscarry your pregnancies. None of that is gonna give. They then went straight to work because they listened to my content, after which they then do rituals, even though, like I said, they've killed my husband so many times, even though I've yet to meet him. As soon as I say I'm getting married, they're like, God, boom. They do rituals where they're killing a dude I haven't even met. I've had a dream where there was an incarcerated, as in like he was in a jail cell, some white dude. Because I said that, God showed me my husband is a white man. I then get a dream of some white dude I don't know nothing about that is in a jail cell. And then in one dream, there was a murdered white dude out here chilling on a gurney. I'm like, listen, you're gonna come up against people you haven't even seen. Maybe you do magazine shavings, magazine cuttings of like random white models, and then you just like hookah chaka and say, let this represent Karabo. I don't know. You're crazy in the occult. You bewitch entire strangers and sometimes even people you don't know exist simply because a Christian is waiting on a promise from God and they've gotten a dream and a vision saying, ooh, I saw that my husband wears a blue shirt. And so they're gonna go and burn in a ritual all blue shirts in the mall. Listen, it's a mental illness, it's a psychosis, and there is no end to what they will do. You will get a woman chilling in a completely different country having so much envy over a woman that she's only ever seen online and make a decision that you're gonna be a typical black woman and have a baby out of wedlock. That is what people in the occult do. Listen, it is a mentally ill place, but in there, they get promised all the world. They get promised a wealth of success, a wealth of prosperity. They get told, listen, rock up and chill by my bedside, and you, my dear, are going to have clout and influence, and you're going to be the only black girl that's got a beautiful husband and a beautiful family and a beautiful pregnancy, and you're not going to give babies to some deadbeat baby daddy that's going to give you a whole chunk of grief and never call you on the baby's birthdays. Yeah, all the kids gotta have a dad out here making their children wash their hair to go to Gold Reef City and just not show up. Yeah, because my dad did that. Everybody gotta be a typical deadbeat dad. Insofar as you're born with this skin tone, I apologize. Why don't you want better for black people? Zoom. You're living in a silo, a vacuum. You think that just your tiny little circle of a village, just your small little perimeter, never mind even the whole village, like just your own little circle of a perimeter that makes for your fence, only that can be safe. But let everybody burn the cows of all the other chickens, and let everybody burn the cows of all the other cows, let all the other livestock burn to a crisp, except for yours because yours are gonna be like the fattened cows in Pharaoh's dream, without the skinny cows. For real. Like, listen, let those skinny cows eat the fat cows, because you that dude. Because you that dude that deserves it. Let you finally have birds eat out of your hair, because you that baker guy that stole Pharaoh's chalice. Let Joseph interpret a dream and have you be a condemned rando. Now, if you're not disincentivized from being part of the occult by now, listen, I don't know what's going on with you, and I also don't care, because I've gotten to a point of just so much exhaustion with South African insanity, that ansenandaba, that people bashabegile. If at all you're unredeemable, then it is imperative to make that clear, because the attitude and the pursuit and the insistence on killing God's chosen servants by those who have already been written off is real and alive, and it has power to kill unless you are like David, fleeing from Saul with a determination to survive in spite of people pursuing you unto death. Saul was done for, he was written off, and so he made it his life mission, his prerogative to pursue David unto death. Never ever did David ever taste death. He got to rule and reign in his kingdom, but not first before Saul made his life a living nightmare. So those who keep on stealing God's people's things, sometimes by eyes until they're going to hell, but all they can do is make like Saul. Try to see if they can't take the kingdom from underneath David's feet. And then you will also remember Solomon at the end of his life. Who is that servant of Solomon? I forgot his name. I don't know why it's not coming to me. But because of Solomon's indiscretion with all of his millions of wives, 700 to be exact. No, it wasn't 700 wives. It was I believe 300 or 400 wives, and then 300 and 400 concubines. So some of them were like just lifetime mistresses. Yeah. Because of that activity that caused them to really falter a whole chunk against God, the Lord then gave only Judah to Solomon's son. But then not Abinadab, that's Saul's son, that other guy that God gave the kingdom to, even though he was not Solomon's son, only his servant. God will do stuff like that. He'll be out to giving an entire kingdom to a Gentile, like what happened with Joseph, or a non-son, like what happened with Jonadab. I'm sick and tired of coming up with like crazy names that are not even in the Bible. Rehoboam. Let's call him Reho. Reho was not born from Solomon. He was not on the bloodline. He was a servant. He was supposed to serve under Solomon's son, and yet he took the kingdom. And only Judah was maintained for the sake of the promise that God gave David. Only Judah was maintained in the line of Solomon. But that was okay, because that's all we needed, right? Because Christ came from the line of Judah. That's all we needed. But the judgment was on Solomon. So when you're out here disregarding God and what he will have you do, you're going to make like Solomon, and God is going to keep the kingdom under you for as long as you're still alive, but your son won't take it. And somebody that is of the tribes of Judah, not of Judah, but of Israel, will then take the kingdom even though they were not within their birthright to take it. He will give Gentiles power over Jews sometimes, or he will give people that are not in a bloodline honor, because they honored God, because they loved the Lord. So don't play with the kingdom of God. Don't play with the fact your grandmother was so devout. You grew up in the church. You were basically favored, highly called. And then one day you decided to join the occult and mix your blood with like serpents. Listen, on that day, you are going to lose the kingdom from underneath your feet. You don't get to play around with God, and he will then give it into the hands of Gentiles. And then there is, not Gentiles, sorry, but like people that are not part of the bloodline for kings. And then there was the very sad story of who is this? I'm sorry, it's eluding me. It was at the top of my mind and then it leaves me again. I will remember it again, but I need to carry on talking at this point because we need to get a message out. You don't get to play games with the grace of God and expect the Lord to just keep on humoring you, especially when you make your life a living menace against the body of Christ, especially when you do abominable practices, when you kill babies, when you drink blood, when you harvest people's organs. You can't expect that when now you meet with a Christian on the internet, you can then recover yourself to right standing through those Christians. Impoverish me, be cruel as much as you want, but you are disabled on a mat on the floor, and all your satanic rituals to take my womb. The Lord gave me a dream where, after interceding for my deadbeat family that all these ritualists have tried to kill, upset, I stormed out and found my baby at a decrepit mall where people be out to buying occult magic, but I went and fetched my son. So remember in the dreams where I saw two colored girls, there was no boy there. Well, I found my son at another mall. Essentially, God is recovering to me that which the Lord is recovering to me that which the locust has stolen, the palmer worm, the canker worm, etc. This here message, this here video that I'm doing today is to basically proclaim judgment or deliver judgment from heaven on those who have been afflicting me. God is recovering me. He is restoring me. And this is how you're going to be moved out the way. Not both, but just all these people. Well, as many as I can recount based on the dreams and visions that I've been getting, the ones that South Africa is coming up against. Listen, we're going to talk. Okay? Yeah, I'm bringing down sentences as the verdict has been awarded in heaven. And to let you know how in the world I'm going to come up out of this, despite the fact that people got hopes, fluffing their feathers like a peacock, like with grandiose plumage or whatever. Imaginative that you can just hold me hostage, put your ugly hoof on my neck, and then I'm not going to be able to breathe, and so look at me die. I'm not George Floyd. I get to live because I belong to Jesus. You don't get to put your hoof on my neck, and then I breathe my last. We live. Do you understand? You're not going to martyr me. No, not because I'm unmartyrable, but because that's not what God is trying to do. If a saint of the living God is not supposed to die, they're not supposed to die. And those of you that have made out of yourselves spectators of my demise, listen, I'm also going to leave you. Because like I said in the other dream, where at Clearwater Mall, San Marina was selling to clear, right? Yeah, the store that I owned, Christians are leaving. You all complacent and all full of omission and all just silent. Mum, like you don't have vocal cords, like you don't have a tongue to talk. Blind, like you don't see that somebody literally just tried to kill a saint in front of you. Carry on with your complacency, okay? South Africa, you've been complacent for entire, 11 years. Yeah, 11. Carry on. Being drawn to occult practitioners like iron fillings on a magnet. But years down the line, after all that complacency and watching the body of Christ writhe under your feet, under your noses, under your toes, you're then going to be left with closed stores all over this country. Big brands, big brands. closing shop. You're going to be left with a decrepit economy because the occult stole from you. What do you think? The devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Christ has come to give life and life abundantly. You don't get to, even if you're not part of a cult, you don't get to not rise up against occult organizations that do a most heinous act that are very, very cataclysmic, extremely catastrophic on a country. You don't get to stand back and not intervene, intercede. You don't get to stand back and not do something about it and expect your country to be okay because you don't do magic, because you don't touch spells. But listen, you also don't touch Karabo's case because you're scared. I'm like Naaman. The Lord compares me to Naaman. I'm so leprous. Even though I am a king, I gotta go to Elijah and stuff. Even though I'm a Syrian king, I gotta go to Israel. I gotta go to Israel. Yes, like it, butch. South Africa, you've literally made out of me like Naaman. You know how Naaman was a Syrian king in the Bible? And he was leprous, and his own people couldn't touch him because, like, you know, he was MC Hammer or whatever. He had to go and travel all the way to Israel to go and see Elijah, bugging Elijah, and Elijah's like, what do you want? Go to the River Jordan and dump yourself 7 times, come out of there looking like a baby. Naaman indeed got dunked in the River Jordan 7 times and came out looking like a baby. Was able, therefore, to then run his country, lead his land, and then love the Lord. That was Naaman. When you don't have a solution in your own country and you go to Jerusalem, you might be passed shade by the prophets over there. Because, I mean, really, bread belongs to the children of God. I'm not out here trying to give it to dogs. You know how God said that of the Sumerian woman? I'm not giving you none of them the stuff that belongs to the children. And then that woman is like, even the dogs, you know, eat the crumbs that fall off the table. And then God said, woman, your faith is great. And so healed her daughter that had issues. Her daughter that was sick. The Lord healed that Sumerian woman's daughter. And the Syrian king Naaman was like that. Elijah, when he rocked up at Elijah's doorstep, Elijah was like, what do you want? The very same way that the Jews tended to deal with Gentiles. What do you want? You know how even the centurion soldier, yet more Gentiles, goes to Christ on some, my son is sick. And Jesus is like, oh, you people, you always seek for a sign. You see, the soldier, the Rome, not centurion, sorry, but the centurion is the one, I believe Cornelius in the Acts, but in the book of John, this man riding on a horse, galloping on a stallion. It's like, my son is sick, goes to Christ because he's heard about the miracles from his Gentile nation. And Christ is like, oh, you guys, you want miracles. That's the only time you'll believe. And then this guy's like, please. And then Jesus is like, your son is well. Go, your son is well. Lo and behold, he is met halfway by his men. And they're like, oh, your son is well. And this guy asks, what time did my son get well? Oh, around 1 p.m. And they're like, oh. And then he's like, oh, that's when Jesus Christ said that my son is well. And then him and his entire family believed. That was a typology of the Gentiles, or people that were unseemly, embracing the cross when you didn't like them. But the Jews, when you didn't indeed embrace the cross, those that God, however, handed the message down to, when then they are met with all these Gentiles, they initially respond to them with, what do you want? The bread belongs to the children of God. You are a dog, oh Gentile. But when the Gentiles then are with great faith, Christ stays in Samaria for 2 days because of the testimony of the woman at the well. Because a prophet has no honor in his own hometown. His own hometown kicked him out like a soccer ball. Out, you're pushing him to the edge of a mountain until he just disappears in front of them because it was not yet his time. But the Samaritans, he stayed there 2 days. 2 days. Because they believed. The Samaritans, he stuck around over there for 2 days, even though salvation is from the Jews, right? So if at all you're the first people to whom the gospel was handed down and you don't embrace it, God will send us somewhere else. But where it is that you go, you will initially be received with apprehension and attitude. You're gonna have a whole bunch of people looking at you, staring you up and down like you stank or whatever. Elijah is gonna look at you, Naaman, and be like, but what you doing? You're disturbing my peace. And then tells you, go dunk yourself in the River Jordan 7 times, and you'll come out looking like a baby. And look at the Assyrian king out here. Having faith is now awarded. Do you understand what I'm saying? The bread of the Jews. Even Christ himself said, when he was trying to tell people that no servant, no prophet has honor in his own hometown, he was like, Naaman was a Syrian king. Elijah, there were many widows all over Jerusalem, and yet he had to go to a widow at Zarephath in order to get enabled, and that widow was then, of course, her cause, enabled by Elijah, because the Hebrews would not embrace Elijah. They were not all that much together in love with Elijah, but Elijah got respected, honored by the widow at Zarephath. And then he made the example as well with the Syrian king, Naaman, and said that Naaman was a Syrian king. There were plenty of lepers in Jerusalem, and yet Elijah out here healed Naaman. So if at all the people of God in a particular ecosystem are ignoring the people of God that are called like prophets, God will shame you with Gentiles. God will shame you with Gentiles. Do you understand? He will shame you with unseemly faces. He will say to the centurion, you and your signs and wonders. But you see, the Bible says that a wicked and a perverse generation seeks after a sign. He will give them no sign except for the sign of Jonah. But look at him giving a sign and a wonder to the soldier that walked up whose son was healed. And what was his response? faith. It happened as well with Cornelius, an outsider that initially Peter was like, what am I going to do with this? It's a Gentile. I can't hang with it. But then the Lord gave him the dream with that man coming from heaven with like unclean stuff and clean stuff. And then he, because of that dream, went to go and see the centurion. And the centurion's entire family got healed. The whole family got born again. The whole family. So South Africa, I belong to America now. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whether or not they may initially embrace me with attitude, pass me shade, give me grief, bottom line is, if they listen to my message, and if they understand what you're doing on their platforms, they will initially treat me like Naaman, but like Naaman, they will make me dunk for 7 years in the River Jordan 7 times. And through them, I will have clean skin, and I will lead, and I will reign, and I will rule the way that I'm supposed to rule and reign and lead as a king. Or in this instance, I will live the life I'm supposed to live in Christ. Somewhere away from my motherland, from my mother's shores. I will leave. You've literally been spitting out God's prophets amidst your shores for a minute. You treated Kim Clement came from you. Like, even Elon Musk is from you. Like, you keep treating some of the biggest and baddest people, even though he's not a born-again Christian, he has nonetheless benefited the world in a grandiose capacity. What y'all need to understand is that you're so, like you are so sinful, you are so unimaginative in your determination to literally cult up the whole entire country that Angwazi, even though you've got access to, you're privy to the suffering of Christians. You allow us to be made second-grade citizens. The dream that I had with Cradlestone Mall, everybody that was evangelizing in that mall was like a teenager. So therefore, grown men that love the Lord in this country, no one thinks of them as anything that makes sense. Grown women, comprehensive persecution and second-grade citizen name of servants of God. You are watching me writhe and wither away because you're so scared of crazy little occult practitioners that are running you to the ground. When the Lord has shown me in dreams them being literally utterly disabled. Their legs are noodles. They're ramen noodles. Cannot stand up straight. Wobbly-legged randos. Not really with any kind of true power. On a mat on the floor. Even a baby out-crawled that rando. A baby out-lapped that rando and found itself in my arms. That's what happened in my dream. I'd been praying, standing in the gap for I don't know how many family members by ningi labantu get because they like babies. And yet the people who have tried to kill my family members in one fell swoop, they can't against one prayer warrior. One. To a point where in a dream I'm all frustrated by these randos. I can't even appreciate that God has used me to stand in the gap, especially considering some of them want me to settle with these nonsenses because my family members are just like all of you, just South African. Typical. Scared of occult practitioners and imagining that a God-fearing woman needs to give herself over to some dastardly Satanist because that's the only way that she's going to have a life. With my uncle then saying, but Karabo, they're not a Satanist. We're not with your paranoid talk on your mouth. You're so paranoid that you even think Candace Owens is bewitching you. Come on, get out of your mind. There are worms. There is a brain-eating amoeba over there. There's no life to be had in this whatever you call Jesus Christ thing. But you need to get a life. So get married to my hostage taker. Get married to my arresting guy. Have a violence of Stockholm syndrome. Trauma bond to a crazy guy that can't even love me right. But hey, he's my husband and I'm glad at least today, he's at home. Even though I'm scratching it up a storm, taking antibiotics because he keeps on giving me STDs. But I gotta take it because at least Lenyano, that is what it is. That my family are saying, just like the rest of this dastardly South Africa, I am done. But even though you might hear about it, I keep getting dreams of people saying, because you think that, not that I'm bluffing, but that this won't happen. You don't think I'm bluffing. I don't bluff. I am trying to leave. But you're saying you're not gonna be able to. I've had people literally say, you're a dog. Like, you know what? Gender-based violence. Violent men that be out here punching you until you land on the peak of Mount Everest. And yet they want to put you in their houses insofar as you will capitulate and concede and realize that nobody does anything that makes sense in this country unless they worship Satanists. How uncomfortable are the rest of y'all? You must be wearing some pretty small bras that give you double boobs. You must be rocking some corsets. Some hard-knock, figure-hugging attires like onesies, that have given you varicose veins that are the size of entire roads. The way you're so uncomfortable in what you're wearing for a country and for a disposition, how much you fear occult practitioners, how much you tiptoe around them, you literally are rocking a very tight leather onesie that's given you road-size varicose veins. You must, because when you live in that kind of fear over people that have no self-control, that all you need to do is just kind of sneeze wrong or step on their toe or even look at them with a bad look or anything at all that they perceive to be a bad look and you're done for. They can kill your whole family and you're like, you're me, I'm not gonna touch it until you make out of Karabo Naman, until you make me so untouchable that I am like leprosy, like a leper. Listen, you who fear occult practitioners more than you fear God, herein lies the judgment on these occult practitioners and herein lies the sorrow of your souls. When you realize that God delivered me single-handedly from all of their hands without you and your support, without you, South Africa, and your enablement, The Lord will have delivered me from the paw of the lion and the jaw of the bear, like David, single-handedly. He will have enabled me to conquer crazy Satanists, little dastardly lackluster, damned occult practitioners that use fear-mongering in order to keep people in a neat little bunch, except God said in his word, don't fear, don't fear. Multiple times in the scriptures, don't fear, don't fear, don't fear. That's what the Lord gotta say. And you South Africans are like, oh, unless of course it's a high priest rocking a big robe like a vampire. Listen, keep your vampires, okay? They're needy, so you need to be out to keep on feeding them all the day long. They're needy. They're needy. But unfortunately, where it is that they're begging like hobos is around the body of Christ. And we are like, no, we don't want you. You're not welcome here. You're a vagrant. You are a litterer of our streets. You are a loitering, like a biscuit selling lady outside of a mall. Even though there's a big fat sign on top of that mall saying, do not loiter. That's what they are. But to you, you're gobbling them whole, like a wholesome meal. You are gobbling them whole like they make any kind of good sense. Labantu Laba have determined to decimate Christianity in the country without even realizing that they're even closing down shops in the country. They're closing down our most biggest and baddest brands. I spoke about that in my last video, man. So seeing as God has given me power to pray, power to conquer, power to trample serpents and scorpions underfoot, and all the power of the enemy, he's given me nothing but power, because there is power in the name of Jesus. And I exploited that power. I had fantasies, because I live in Fantasy Boulevard. When it comes to these nasty dudes, I could eat them like dinner. I could decimate them. I could crack them up like an egg. The same fantasies they have about me, dangling on a noose after committing suicide, I got fantasies of hanging them too. I also have God. Bloodthirst, do you understand? I am not gonna lie to you. As bloodlustful as these monstrosities are, honey, I too am. I feel nothing, no compassion for them. That's how you deal with the devil, isn't it? Usatan is not a dude that you out to be like, oh Shem, I'm sorry, Askis, that they kicked you out of heaven, and so you sometimes every so often give him compassion. When somebody is reprobate, hand it over to that lackluster CD mind. Can't nobody get anywhere upon giving them compassion, because then they're gonna come back again and plot and scheme. They on that day are like Adonijah. You know how Adonijah ought to be trying to steal the throne of Solomon, and Solomon gave him a shot. They're like Joab and Adonijah. Gave a shot. Fine. David kept Joab alive for plotting and scheming to make Adonijah king. And Adonijah hung onto the horns of the altar saying, please don't kill me, Solomon. And Solomon was like, fine, I'll spare you. But man, oh man, how Adonijah insisted that he wanted Abishag. Man, oh man, how Adonijah literally became an affront to Solomon after Solomon saved his life. Some people just gotta be mowed out the way. Because when you give them a chance, they literally plot and scheme and roam and toss and turn and think up a new scheme to essentially squeeze themselves into your life again. Especially when they're men feeling entitled to certain women. They will linger in their obsessive ideals. And because men are as possessive over women as they are, even though they were given a shot and their lives spared, they will come back around again with a volume 2.0 and still try to marry you. And this time around, you're going to find yourself in a casket. That is why Chiki Kaukelo died. She died even though there was a restraining order. She died even though she took the necessary steps while she imagined. She walked away from a relationship that was out here emanating GBV. And she still got killed. But anyway, you also know what happened with Saul. Twice. Literally twice. Saul was spared by David. Here is this dude David was mad at Joab. David was mad as well at one of his mighty men, Joab, for killing Absalom. But when I reconsidered that, meditated on that passage of God's word, I remember thinking, but like the guy had it. I remember in my mind thinking, but like the guy had it coming though. I literally said to myself, Joab might have killed Absalom and so therefore defied David's orders, but where in the world would David be if it was not for Joab? Where? Like, Absalom had to die. He had to go. The guy ought to be cooing his dad's kingdom, splitting it into, causing division, driving his dad out, even though the promise of God belonged to his dad. Just absolutely recalcitrant, unruly, anarchist. It's the purge. And he is purging by taking his dad's throne. It's a state capture, a coup. He's running a fiefdom, a little kingdom in his own image that God Almighty has nothing to do with. The guy had to be neutralized, even if it was through the disrespect of a king that was like, please don't kill my child. Later on, David spared Joab's life for plotting and scheming Adonijah to put him as king instead of Solomon, because he had his own ideals. And David spared him again, but Solomon killed Joab and Adonijah later. Because people just keep plotting and scheming. But what you need to understand is that people like Absalom and people like Saul that try to take a kingdom over, if at all you don't have the heart to neutralize them, given that the Lord sees that you literally cannot mourn your own child, or you're going to refuse to have the blood of your own child on your own hands, so it's okay. I'll raise up Joab. Like, it's that basic. Well, Saul, something had to take him out because David wouldn't. That was David. He ought to be mourning over people that had to go. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you don't have the stomach to see your enemy dead because it's your sister or your brother, or because it's one of them like favorite people, if you're squeamish at a car accident scene and cannot effect the mission, then you will get the servant of Solomon out here killing Joab, even though his hands are held on tight to the altar. You will kill him anyway, because listen, you're not going to get to run away from the judgment that is coming on you, because like they will just keep trying and plotting and trying. A jealous woman. I spoke right now about a possessive man. A possessive man will make who's this guy? Jadena in the music video for Bambi. He will gate crash your wedding. Bambi, Bambi, my dear, my dear, my dear. You know I want you, dear, so there is nothing I will not do for you, my dear. Bambi, I'll crash your wedding. Bambi, I'll destroy your children. After you've given birth, I will go to the hospital, murder your twins. Bambi, Bambi, my dear, my dear, my dear. You don't get to walk away from me because I'm still very much in love with you, my dear. I'm gonna be obsessed with your wedding a day until I drive my truck into it and gate crash it and steal all the peace. Bambi, Bambi, yeah, listen. A man that's that obsessed with you that won't let you go. He will gate crash your wedding. He will try to kill your children when they're born. He will try to kill you when you're heavily pregnant with your children, with another man. He will always be a menace and a nuisance. So if he lives in your neighborhood, absent of him literally going out, nobody's safe. But you know, David wanted to keep Absalom alive so David can keep living in the wilderness, right? Yeah, but God then raised up Joab. Saul was another one. David spared his life twice, and both times Saul was like, David, you're a better man than me. Saul could have been eliminated and David therefore get out of hiding. But instead, he spared his life. Well, the time came in my heart where those people that I try to spare, that I try to pray for, intercede for, I arrived at a recognition that, listen, they're Jadena. If they're men, they'll be singing Bambi, Bambi until they murder my twins. Look at the random after taking my son. I realized that they're Saul, that even though I keep on sparing them time and time again, the guy's gonna rear his ugly head again. Like, Saul did not stop pursuing David. He had to be neutralized. He died in battle eventually. Certain structures need to be moved out the way. I have grown. I'm a big girl now. And now, I also have bloodlust. Look at that. We're equal now, aren't we? I want you dead. As a concert, because this guy with the reptilian eyes, he's unredeemable, and so he's all bitter that he's going to hell. And so for those reasons, he will never ever stop until I'm dead or whatever. Like, he's gonna pursue me all the way to the end. And then there's the guy from the United States of America. Listen, he found my content. I don't even know how, because I'm so badly shadow banned. He found my content. He doesn't belong to a cult. He's not that advanced in his satanic magic. He wasn't invited to a cult. So he can't find me in Jeffela by mere virtue of the fact that there are cults and countries that out here surveil saints. So he found me by sheer hard work. And he is now persecuting the living daylights out of me, bewitching me, keeps on burning voodoo candles time and time again, ascertaining that I'm dying. Because why, Bambi, Bambi, my dear, my dear, my dear. All he would rather do is cry than to see me walk away from him, child. No. Hard, not dastardly, super obsessed, and there's quite a few of them men that have to die. So all I have sought the Lord's face for ever since this guy's pursuit of my person would not stop with leaving me alone, and him perpetually barraging me with witchcraft, all I could say was, God, just kill him. Please, why don't you end his life? I got to a point where Naomi, I wanted your blood on the ground. But you see, there's a difference between spilling blood on a battlefield in war and just being a homicidal freak. Well, y'all are homicidal, and I'm a warrior, and I want you dead. Like, that is a thing. A man that I want this incredibly coded on a gurney, on a cold bed, in a mortuary, wants me as a mistress. I mean, this stuff is bizarre. This stuff is bizarre. So men like this then, when then they go and they kill other people's daughters, and you don't know her from a bar of soap, you've met her in a bar. You don't know her from a bar of soap, she agreed to go on one date with you, and because she wouldn't have sex with you, she finds herself dead in a bush. These guys that kill people in broad daylight and scare South Africans enough for them to retreat and literally record a woman dying with no intervention, until this bugger can go and stab some other woman almost to death. What the heck? It's your country, you are cowards, and I don't care for you. I'm gonna bathe in the River Jordan after some prophet from another country helped me deal with the leprosy I am endured under in this nation, but I won't look back. However, given that borders can be crossed by illegal immigrants, I understand that you will follow me to the US. I understand you will follow me to Timbuktu. You will follow me even to heaven if you could. You would try to rip apart my clothes as I'm floating in the sky getting raptured, because you thoroughly think you can dangle in the sky with me. Insofar as you lash onto me strongly enough, you will pursue me to death. Because to some of y'all, I'm Bambi. A woman that you are telling yourselves over my dead body before I will let her get married anywhere else. Are you serious? Like as if though that is within your prerogative to say so. Africans, black people, you're crazy, you're insane, and you will stand back and do nothing about crazy men of this nature. But listen, I am all about action and I want them dead. I don't care if they breathe, if they live, if they rise, if they sit. Because when you dump them, they don't take no for an answer. And when you get restraining orders, they tell themselves, listen, I'll take jail. I'll wear orange. It's the new black. They're happy to go and wear dungarees in jail after having killed some girls. By then, everybody's bereaved, everybody's mournful. Don't nobody care that he's in jail because after all, you don't have the girl, right? You don't have the woman, right? She's not here anymore, right? She was taken away at the meager age of 20, right? She's dead. So even though you can say you can take him to prison, there's nothing they can never get dead. I'm a daughter that will pursue women until they die and take in their stride prison. That's what Sandile Manswe had. He had a lot to lose and yet he lost it anyway. That's what Ntutugo Shoba did. He had a lot to lose and he lost it anyway. That's what the guy that killed Dolisha Balala did. Lot to lose and yet he lost it anyway. That's what the guy who killed Uine at the post office did. He had a lot to lose and yet he lost it anyway. When men feel entitled to women, unless they get neutralized, some of them, they will never repent. Yes, every so often there'll be the one guy that will realize, let me let go, call granddaughter. But then there are those that lash on like Jadenda to a point of crashing your weddings. Your wedding. Who in the world is going to be out here okay, dealing with the level of bereavement and sorrow hovering around my head on a wedding day? Do you know what a death spell does to you? It creates macabre melancholy. You get forlorn. Top of that, walk around like you're underwater. You walk around like you're Nemo under the sea. That's what's giving. You can't feel yourself out. There is no joy, nothing makes you happy. The purpose is to despair you unto death, you understand? The purpose is to kill you. The purpose indeed is to make sure that you will look around and see no good thing. You will not be able to taste a strawberry, neither a blueberry. You will not be able to taste any kind of yogurt on your tongue. You will not enjoy meat, you won't enjoy stampa. No pap will do anything to you. Even when you're hungry, you will feel like, what's the point? Because now I'm in pain because I got hunger pangs. Even though there's a cornucopia of food encircling you. You will be so despaired that nothing of an earthly pleasure does anything to you. The sun's shining, you won't see it anymore. The trees will all look brown and autumny, even though it's like the pink of spring. Pink of spring. What the heck? Imagine being like that on your wedding day. Imagine being like that on your wedding day. You're supposed to be the happiest ever. And yet there's some deadbeat ex-boyfriend that keeps on burning candles that make you melancholic and macabre. This guy gotta be neutralized before the wedding day, don't you see? He has to die. Because if he doesn't die, you're gonna walk down the aisle all heavied and not really happy. Bloodshot. Listen, I try these days anyway, to sleep at least 8 hours because I realized during the season when I was out just driving through prayer, with praise and worship, to a point where I was sleeping for like 3-4 hours and then waking up and praying again, I saw that this thing was taking away my face. I had this gaunt look on my face. I had dark circles underneath my eyes. I was sunken, and I couldn't recognize myself in the mirror. And I was like, look at these answas. They literally took my beauty. And I mean, goodness, I'm pretty. So I didn't like that, especially considering I'm not married yet. So I made a decision to sleep. So now, ever since that season of just going, praying, and then waking up and only for a few hours sleeping, and then refusing to let myself take a nap even during the day, and then struggling to sleep when I do finally lay my head down, because I saw the spiritual war and what it was doing to my face, I made a decision to intentionally invest in sleep, even if it means waking up at an ungodly hour, like as in like 2 p.m. in the afternoon or whatever. I was like, I'm gonna sleep, and when I'm awake, I'm gonna pray all the day long. I did that. And my face bounced back. The dark circles left. I was refreshed. I got enough oxygen in all of my blood. Okay, well, spiritual war when it's at a height, at a fever, when it's on a mountain, out here, bashing its chest on that mountaintop like King Kong. Even if you sleep 10 hours a day, you will still be gaunt. Your eyes will still be sunken into your sockets. You will still be unrecognizable. You will still look in the mirror and not be able to see yourself. You're not going to be able to feel yourself, be yourself. It'll show everywhere. Even when you try to record a video, you will see it in the video. Whether it's body dysmorphic disorder or reality of what you're seeing in the mirror, you probably are going to see all that fatigue in you. Your eyes are going to be bloodshot. Yesterday I went to the mall and I went inside Lovisa to compare what in the world is going on with their earrings and the ones that I have. And when I looked in the mirror at Lovisa, I was so sad because I was gaunt. I was like, how's anybody able to look me in the face looking like this? I was gaunt, looking like a ghost. If you were to bump into me in the middle of the night without switching on the lights, you might scream. I was so gaunt. I looked like a ghost. I need to pee. I'm back. Yeah, okay, so like I was gaunt yesterday. In spite of the fact that I am investing in sleep, I'm investing. I make sure that if I wake up in the middle of my 8-hour sleep cycle, I force myself to finish it off because I don't want to be gaunt. But nah, this time around, it jackrolled me like a rapist on the street. It took me over anyway, in spite of all the sleep I was getting, because the spiritual war was that extreme. Given that during the day, I was heavy, I was forlorn, and I was excruciatingly suicidal. I wanted to die in the worst way. I knew that I was not going to end myself, but I hated that I wanted to die. Nothing felt good, no food tasted good in my mouth, nothing. And I knew that I had to pray through this. Now, my content helps me to conquer and pray. Watching certain other content online, just basically Christian edification. But during the time when they're trying to force you to abandon Christianity, apostatize, or die, Sometimes even listening to Christian testimonies, you will have a cynicism about your person. You will look at other Christians on some, yeah, whatever. You'll be snooty and, like I said, cynical. And you will also listen to perhaps, what is this, scripture meditations. And the scriptures that are full of God's promises, you will roll your eyes at them. Because in that particular moment, you feel despaired and forsaken by God. You feel abandoned. But if at all you're any kind of wise Christian, you will know that it's a demonic attack. And so you got to strive through it. You got to strive through your attitude towards not only saints, but gospel music, your attitude through gospel meditations, the Bible, and God's promises. It's demonic. It's trying to discourage you and make you deconstruct Christianity and walk away. And you ought know as well that it's only a matter of praying over however set amount of time that the Lord will basically lift this thing off you eventually. That is going to set you free until you now rejoice in the words of the Lord. Understand, the thing that finally broke me through yesterday was watching the movie of Jesus again. Like I said, you can't get enough of Christ. You can't get enough gospel fire, power. So I decided to rewatch the movie of John. And so now every time I listen to the words of Jesus and watch the movies of Jesus, I'm always just like sorrow. I'm always snobby. Not snobby. What's the word that I'm looking for? Sobbing. I'm always crying because I love Christ. I love the Lord. So I am reminded of the fact that this guy's so awesome. And so I am recovered. But the fear in the season that is trying to make you forget about your darling. Yeah, no, it's real and it's alive and it's got fangs. It's grooving into your skin, pinching you like a blue bottle at the ocean. Because I like metaphors. That is what under heaven it is that I was enduring. It took, guys, I tend to overcome spiritual war in a day and a half. Because me, I pray the whole day. The whole day. I pray the whole day under my breath when I'm walking up and down. Especially in the mornings when I've got, well, in the mornings I tend to wake up and I put gospel music in my ears and I wash the dishes with it. But even before, I had that as a way, like basically a routine. I would, under my breath, I'm praying in tongues all day long. I can't afford to. The only time I'm not praying is when I'm in the bathroom because I can't open my mouth in there. I don't know who does. Yeah, but when I'm outside and also when I'm sleeping, that's when I'm not praying. But if I am just sitting here, also when I'm talking, if I am just sitting here watching something or meditating or editing, I'm in prayer in tongues under my breath, and it works swimmingly. It works like clockwork to eradicate stuff, and I know that I have to do this for a minute. So because of that, I tend to overcome spiritual war in just mere hours, and in the worst case scenario, 2 days. When something lingers for almost a week, when something lingers for 4 or 5 days, you know it's intense, you know it's hectic, and you know it is a barrage, and you also know it is an ambush by more than one occult practitioner, more than one cult, doing multiple rituals. I had a dream, maybe like a week ago, of a whole bunch of guys trying to be kind to me, nice to me, after I literally took all of their cars by my bare hands, like I was the Incredible Hulk. Because indeed I became big and angry and so green and powerful, and I took their vehicles and I threw all of them in my grandmother's yard, because yeah, that happened there, I don't know why. I took all of their cars, with them not being in them, however, with my bare hands, and I threw them in my grandmother's yard, and I made out of them a scrap yard that was heaped like an anthill. And only at that stage of taking all their cars where they were parked at what looked like a chisana nyama, with my bare hands, and throwing them in my grandmother's yard, only then did they then come to me all trepidatious and try to be nice to me. And guess who was hovering around in that atmosphere? Hlongwane, this woman that I'm talking about that got killed, the 20-year-old, by her boyfriend, by her ex, against whom she had a restraining order at a tavern. She was following me around. Literally, she couldn't say anything, however. She was just following me around, saying she had a demeanor about a person. She wasn't talking. That was basically saying, why didn't I test this? Why didn't I do this? She was sad and frustrated and followed me around. Essentially, with a demeanor in the dream was that spirit saying, why didn't I opt for this solution? Because this is what I needed to come up out of the clutch of that monster that killed me. Yo, what I'm getting at is that you're sending women to hell. That chick, her spirit, she was wearing black clothes, following me around with a desperation. She was mum, she couldn't speak, but she was following me around, looking at what I did to these idiots. And within herself and within myself, I could sense that what she was saying was, why didn't I choose this? That was the Lord showing me. Women, you will keep on getting spilled like milk on the kitchen counter with people saying you can't cry over spilled milk. You will keep on being the blood that is spilled, that can't even cry out to God for justice because you're not the blood of a righteous man. You're not able. You will not be able to get true justice when you're in Hades. You're done for. This person has succeeded to essentially conquer you once and for all because he has sent you to hell unless you give your life to Christ. But you won't listen to me, will you? Until you get to Hades. They will kill you when you still think you've got 50 years to go. She was only 20 years old. I was so angry in this dream. My face was just maintained in just anger. And these monsters, still wearing their high priest attires, but this time they were reduced to the status of little boys. They rocked up Mojarading to basically gaze at the car pile up, the wreck, the scrapyard that I had made out of their vehicles. And only at the stage where they're like, but don't be so sad, don't be so angry, Karabo, we were just joking. We are I nearly died. You were in reverse psychology, you were not serious. You were trying to make me do something else by making me feel another thing. You put my life in harm's way so that when I conquer you, idiot, you then say, but we were just joking. I just look at these guys on some, if you don't get out of Jagatayaka, you will be like these cars in the scrapyard. You will be mangled and dismembered. You will not know whether you are coming, you idiot, or going. Hamban man, get out of Jagatayako. But as for your cars, because I decided to go and collect them like I'm the Incredible Hulk. I decided to collect them like I'm a Jaws of Life at a car accident scene. I decided to collect them like I'm the AA, a towing company, and move them here. That was a law showing me essentially taking away their satanic magic. I took their power irrecoverably. This time around, they're gonna go and wave a magic wand and it's gonna glitch and short circuit. Initial vehicles for Christians represent ministry, while with them it represents witchcraft. It represents their ability to indeed successfully do spells. So no more wealth transfers, no more satanic rituals, no more human sacrifice rituals that are gonna do anything. You're gonna do a human sacrifice ritual on a mom and she will get a headache for a day and recover. On a girl, she will sneeze and then recover. You will glitch and you will twitch, you will short circuit. In my dream, I took all of their cars like I was Rambo, like I was Schwarzenegger, like I was Hysteri, like I was Achilles without the heel. Super strength. I told you, adrenaline. When it's all up in your grow, you will pray even. No, Shem, this is not me. At the beginning of this tyranny, the Holy Spirit himself said the battle is mine. God said the battle is mine. This time around, I didn't pray like before. I've prayed. There was a time when I was praying in such fever with gospel music, tears coming down my face, and I could feel the Spirit of the Lord doing a thing, tearing apart some structures. This time around, I was disillusioned, but I still maintained my under my breath prayers. The Lord saw that I'm tired, I'm weary, I'm exhausted. Yeah, you thought that you could just drain me until I'm finished off. This time around, those small little prayers where I am holding on to God in spite of all of my pain, just like Hannah praying without any sound coming out of her mouth. She's merely mobilizing her lips. She's got lips licking, tears trickling down her eyes. And then finally, Eli the priest is like, woman, you are drunk all up in God's temple. And Hannah's like, don't take me for an immoral woman because I ain't that concubine belonging to a married man. I'm just bereft because this woman won't stop deriding me due to the fact that I can't have babies. And Eli was like, woman, go home, go eat. You have gotten what you asked for in prayer. Lo and behold, a year later, she gave birth to the prophet Samuel. When your prayers no longer release any utterance, there's nothing coming out of there but you got tears. You're holding on to God anyway, you wonder why he has forsaken you, but you don't let go. It's those kinds of prayers that are to be producing miraculous intervention. They are to be producing miraculous turnaround. They are to producing miraculous recovery to sense, even though it was not your most fervent prayers, neither your most feverish, but you see, prayer is like building a structure that is very arduous to build. Your foundation is what matters. And as you continue to add brick by brick, layer upon layer, it adds to a foundation that has already been built. So while it is true in the scriptures that the effective fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much, remember, every prayer avails much. So when then you don't have the fever, neither the energy to pray an effective fervent prayer because you are discouraged, the prayers you prayed in the foundation where you still had energy, the ones where it is that you were in snot and slander and praise and worship and you couldn't even put yourself down to sleep because you were in prayer, all night praying, just in tongues going. Those prayers are the foundation that God has always heard, and he is working on them. He puts them in a jar, and he will pour them out as a judgment on the wicked, especially when you're busy whimpering prayers now. You're whimpering them because you're tired of fighting. You're tired of praying oh so much, and you are also feeling like, goodness, after doing all-night prayer over 2 months straight without stopping, I'm still here, for real. I still got all the suicide ideation, for real. I am still being dragged through the mud, for real. Yeah, you will pray them whimpering, but it is when you whimper, for the battle is the Lord's. Gideon's. It is when you whimper, when you are finally at the place where you are like, okay, listen, my God, it's in your hands now. Like, what am I gonna do? I cannot energy right now. I'm not even feeling anything Christian because I feel forsaken vele. Labantu, it appears ukuthi ba right. So with just a small faith as a mustard seed in this season, you are not too bold, only tired. This is when I saw me moving like I am the Incredible Hulk. Ministries, satanic ones at that, of devil worshippers, who try to come and collect their towed and impounded vehicles at my grandmother's house, and I told them, Hak Freestad, these cars are staying here. If you want to spare your lives, get out, but you're not taking your cars with. They literally rocked up and were nice to me. They were speaking to me like I was something cute. And they were like, but we were playing, we were joking. I am being followed around by a woman that died from the very same thing that tried to kill me. And she is already finished. And she is feeling like, why didn't I test this thing? Because then I would still be alive today. Because look at this woman succeed to impound dikoloi tsa dinja tse bolayang basadi. Because they're upset that they got dumped or because they're upset that they got rejected. They don't have power anymore, is what I'm getting at, and y'all are about to see that. The other day, I got an understanding, maybe like yesterday, in the spirit as I'm walking around, because I get understanding literally the whole entire day long. I got an understanding of one of these guys saying, this woman is going to make us poor. O njamos, wa hobo la letsatsi kaofela. Kopa re bueng, o na ntse nka ditjhelete. What do you mean? She's gonna make us poor? Honey, you've been poor all this time. You've never made a single ounce of cash in your life. You've only ever You have only ever stolen people's furniture. You have only ever broken into people's homes. You've only ever been a hijacker and a mugger and a burglar. You have only ever been ipantiti. So when your funds run dry, listen, easy come, easy go. That's how it is with gangsters. They out to be robbing a bank for R1 million and they can't even invest it. Within a year, it's over. If it because they have spent it on God, like bunny chow. When you make money from ill-gotten gain, from your pockets, so you ought to have seen this coming. After all, you are bandits. You're like Pablo Escobar. You're bandits. So when all of your wealth all of a sudden gets seized by the police, you never had it. It was never yours to keep. You are a criminal. What needs to happen is that people need to be recovered to that which they lost because you stole it. So do not actually lament Otomamina, not entrana and pass out of your teeth. But she's gonna make me poor. You've been poor all this time. If you had worked by the sweat of your brow and actually studied and worked like proper, pushed a cart up a hill like the rest of us, learn from the ant, you fool. You might have on that day a reason to mourn when you lose your millions. Right now you're just a thief. All you are is a banditi. You went into a museum one day and stole all the jewels therein. You stole all the artifacts therein and made a whole bunch of money in the black market, and now that you're being raided in your little factory of dark arts, the recovery to the museum of that artwork, even though you have bought it for 2 billion, 2 schmillion, because on that day it's not 2 billion, it's ash, because it belongs to the museum. So I'm making you poor? No, you've been poor all this time. You're just now acting like it's all sad. I only feel sorry for the wives you've put in psychiatric hospitals and made them perpetually peruse the aisles of Discam out here, always getting prescriptions for medications that they would not have taken if you hadn't given them a litany of STDs. I feel bad for the wives you keep on infecting because you could not stop doing satanic rituals in order to make money. I also feel bad for the wives that you one day introduced to anal sex because you became a homosexual thanks to satanic rituals in the occult and did not know why my husband all of a sudden has a fetish over this thing to a point where you can't even use her proper hole. I feel sorry for those wives that now, as a result of all that incendiary sexual activity, are now, best friends with Clicks and Discam and all other kinds of independent pharmaceuticals because they can't stop taking some medications, because what in the world and heaven are they married to? Women will abide by anything if they love a man, including a dude all of a sudden getting a curiosity about anal sex. All of a sudden, Kante Mutona has been experimenting with gay sex in the occult and now he demands it from his wife. That's what a whole bunch of y'all are like, and you want to come into the life of a Christian. You're disgusting. Lanyonsa. All I feel sorry for are those women. But frankly, when you die, and you will, they had that reprieve coming. They might not know it yet, but I'm doing them a favor. They might not know it yet, but God is doing them a favor. They might not know it yet, but y'all gotta be taken out of the way because you are a menace to South African society. If it is not for your extraction from this country, there will not be any rebuilding, no recovery. There will be no recuperating. There will be no re-energizing dead brands that now have to be resuscitated by takeovers, by purchases, by buyovers. There will not be a Walmart coming to South Africa because game is gone. Now there'll just be a dead country that the US won't even wanna invest Walmart here, or any other country for that matter. You gotta rebuild. But your own local brands are about to pass away. There is going to be a most cataclysmic economic disaster because you went and grabbed your best and your brightest, your biggest minds in this country, and you bewitched them insofar as they were Christian, or even if they're not Christian, I get you're into wealth transfers from just anything and anyone on the streets that can walk or crawl because you are to be coming up against babies. A chick from YouTube murdered babies. Abatab. You came against those who crawl and those who walk. Granted that you committed all of these abominations, when then there is a recompense, restoration, retribution, recovery, whatever. You were never wealthy. You didn't have money. That's why in my dream you look like a loiterer that sold my fofora outside of a high school. You were on the floor with your arms and legs being like ramen noodles, dog. You couldn't walk. The Lord was showing me that you have been utterly disabled, but for now you're living in fear. You're creating an optical illusion. The battle has already been won, and that is literally by the most important thing that Christians need to wake up to realize. When devil worshippers are finished, when they no longer have any cards to play, they will be most below the belt because they have lost everything, and now they are running on nothing but fear. All you need to do is wait to get out of the tunnel, the dark one. Wait to pierce out onto the other side. But towards the end, they get really below the belt because towards the end, whatever is in the tunnel that is haunting at you will scratch at you to hold your garment so you can stay back in the darkness. So that's why the Bible says, do not grow weary of doing good. But in due season, you will reap the peaceful fruit of righteousness if you do not give up. During the season when I was so forlorn, overwhelmed by all of this suicide ideation, guys, I kept on hearing the Spirit saying consequences, sentences being passed. And I was like, how is a sentence being passed when I feel like death wound up? warmed up. How is a sentence me? How is this over, God? The spirit was telling me this is done. But what I was feeling in the physical, yet to catch up to whatever was going on in the spiritual realm, I was looking in the mirror and I saw this gaunt woman to a point where when I was at Lovisa, I very shortly afterwards got out of the store because I could not stand that anybody would be looking at me looking like this. I had to go to the store yesterday and I'm going to explain to you why. I barely ever go out and that's also yet another issue. Why do I go nowhere when I'm all this fabulous? I was gaunt, my eyes were sunken, dark circles under my eyes to a point where my mom, who is partly responsible for why my life is like this, couldn't look me in the eye. My mother yesterday, the whole day, she could not look me in the eye because I am undergoing something and she doesn't know what it is. Listen, my eyes were in my ingati. I was a decomposing corpse. You know that stuff is spiritual. When you recover from that kind of gaunt disposition, just by sleeping over one night and without you being harassed and held gariwashi in your sleep space, given peace, and now you are dreaming about daffodils. When you wake up in the morning and those dark circles are gone, it takes time to recover from stuff like that. Weeks. But you know that is spiritual when you recover in just 24 hours.